is quite amazing astonishing sporting theatre that you're watching.
Nationalities may differ.
Oh oui, le percute droit et Holyfield va attaquer dans cette 10e reprise. Oh, en train.
The languages may be foreign to the ear.
Bowe. Direto de direita de Holyfield, bom direto do campeão, o aperto de esquerda.
And the political ideologies may clash. But in 1992, there was universal agreement from nearly 100 nations around the world that the Evander Holyfield Riddick Bowe heavyweight championship bout was one of the best title fights in recent years. Now, 51 weeks to the day after their last meeting, these two warriors prepare to face one another again. One plans to repeat. The other seeks revenge. Tonight, in a special preview, we'll relive and dissect their historic 10th round battle from 1992. This round should be greeted with a standing ovation at the end. It's seen the best of both men.
Round 10 continues after the bell.
It was 3 of the most thrilling, frightening, exhilarating minutes that I've ever spent in my life.
And we'll take a look at how each of their lives has changed since that memorable November evening.
Don't you bite me. Who'd ever thought that I would have the opportunity or the honor to meet the Pope? So I got me some horses, start riding, got my motorcycle, start riding. I just had a ball.
Joining us live from Las Vegas to discuss next week's championship fight will be the combatants themselves, Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield. Repeat or revenge? We'll examine the matchup. They met on November 13, 1992. If you saw it and you are a boxing fan, you'll never forget it. It was one of the most intense and high-spirited heavyweight championship battles of recent decades. What most of us will remember is the 3-minute mano-a-mano that punctuated the fight, the unforgettable round number 10.
It was 3 of the most thrilling, frightening, exhilarating minutes that I've ever spent in my life.
Suddenly you had spontaneous combustion.
These two men came back and back and back again.
I just decided that then and there that it was time for Evander Holyfield to go.
Round 10 begins.
The first jab that hits him that round sends him halfway across the ring.
As I was stepping back, I dropped back my hand down and he threw an uppercut, which hurt me. And from that point on, I was on a survival roll.
Bowe stuns him with an uppercut, and just like that, the champion struggles to stay on his feet.
I had one foot up on the stairs, maybe stopping him from getting hurt.
I started thinking this guy has no respect for Evander Holyfield, this Riddick Bowe. He's going to knock him out.
What a hard fight Holyfield. He's going to stay on his feet. He's hanging in there.
He had knocked Evander from pillar to proverbial post.
I thought that the only thing I can do to better that performance was to knock Evander Holyfield out. It's not as easy as a lot of people think. He was determined. He didn't want to be knocked out.
Bowe throwing and throwing. Holyfield somehow standing up.
He blew the knockout that round. He should have set him up for a big shot by a series of small shots. He blew it because he became over anxious.
Sooner or later, I knew that he was going to give out because he wasn't hurting any. Well, of course, he wants you to believe that because he was the one that getting his behind kicked.
And Holyfield weathers the storm and comes back throwing.
It now became Evander's round.
When he thought he had me in trouble, I was probably at my strongest when people thought I was at my weakest.
I felt like there was the possibility that Riddick had run out of gas.
Look at Holyfield. What a warrior. Reversing the tide of the battle. The champion now has Bowe wobbling.
Here was a man who could endure all of this and come back. And God knows the public and the writers love a comeback.
And the next minute and a half, he did a number on Riddick Bowe, and I felt sure that this guy was going to crumble. He didn't crumble.
Everybody in the Thomas and Mack Center on their feet. It doesn't bother Bowe because he knows he was only rested in that point.
He really couldn't put a serious dent into Bowe.
He was landing punches against a tired guy. The tired guy wasn't even blinking.
You could see Bowe growing into the task and learning a little bit about being in that kind of a war.
That's the round that Riddick Bowe became heavyweight champion of the world. He met the moment of truth, and he stood up to it.
This round should be greeted with a standing ovation at the end. It's seen the best of both men.
You don't see these kind of rounds with heavyweights usually, because when a heavyweight usually gets you in that kind of trouble, there is no comeback.
The ebb and flow made that round one of the greatest heavyweight rounds I'd ever seen.
A right hand by Holyfield, and another. Round 10 continues after the bell.
He hit me with good shots, but I'm still there. I'm hitting him with my best shots, and he was still there.
If you can recall, at the end of the round, I gave Evander Holyfield a little pat on the stomach saying, good round. I was rather impressed with him.
When Evander boxes, like, I box, right? So after the 10th round, I need some water.
And joining us now live from Las Vegas, where they've been seated and waiting for this now for about an hour, both of the principals in next Saturday night's rematch. Riddick Bowe, the champion on the left, Evander Holyfield, now the challenger on the right. I'll start with you, Riddick. Was it always your assumption, despite the twists and turns of boxing business and the brief announcement on the part of Evander after the fight that he was probably going to retire, was it always your assumption that there was going to be a Bowe Holyfield rematch?
Well, I've thought about it, but actually, I guess Evander, actually made it happen again. Evander is a great warrior. He brings the best out of me, and so I welcome the challenge.
We know what his motivation is. He wants revenge. What is your particular motivation going into this fight?
I guess to constantly to prove that, I'm the best. I know he wants revenge, but it won't happen.
Evander, you said many times since the fight 51 weeks ago that you thought you won it. Now, it's hard to find anybody else in the sport of boxing who agrees with you. Do you still believe in your heart that you beat Riddick Bowe that night?
Well, that really don't matter. I'm getting an opportunity to redeem myself, and I thank God for giving me the opportunity.
You had so much success in your years with George Benton and Lou Duva as co-trainers. Why the change to Emanuel Stewart?
Well, at the time when I decided to come back, they were working with Michael Moore, and I understand that they were backing Michael Moore 100%. So it gave me an opportunity to choose someone. So when I made the choice to choose someone, then I had to choose someone who would teach me. Not teach me, but remind me of the style that I need to have to defeat Riddick Bowe.
Now, some would say that it's an unusual stage of your career to be changing styles. Don't you think that going from Benton and Duva to Emanuel Stewart means a fairly dramatic change in style for you?
Well, not really, because in a coach, that the point of being able to teach a guy that been boxing for 23 years, the guy got to already know how to do certain things. And Emmanuel's reminding me of the things that I really need to do. It's not like I don't know how to jab. It's not like I don't know how to throw right hand. It's not like I've never been busy. These are the things that he remind me of. These are the things that I have to do to win the fight.
Riddick, do you suspect that under the tutelage now of Emanuel Stewart, Evander is likely to be a much different fighter now than he was a year ago?
The only thing I can tell you is that if you don't have King Kong in there with him, you're in trouble. Regardless.
Well, he's not going to have King Kong, but he will have Emanuel Stewart. Do you think that'll make him a different fighter?
I don't believe so. I think, again, as Evander said, he's been fighting for quite some time, and he's set in his ways. So I think Evander's going to come out fighting and be Evander.
Riddick, does it bother you at all? Does it give you any uncertainty to have had less than 3 rounds, less than 6 minutes in the ring with live opponents since a year ago?
Not at all. I would say that, that would only indicate that I'm a much better fighter now, if I can knock a guy out in 2 or 3 rounds.
Evander, one last question for you before we go to another feature piece. Are you satisfied with your performance against Alex Stewart in the one fight you've had since the Bowe fight?
Well, yes, I'm satisfied. I was able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, and that was able to stick to a game plan that for me to win, not so much of me to go in and just go toe-to-toe to knock Alex Stewart out. I had a plan, and yes, I did want to knock him out, but I wanted to knock him out boxing more so than going in there, going toe-to-toe.
All right, gentlemen, both of you stay right where you are. We're going to come back and talk to you one more time. But before we get to that second conversation, let's take a look back at what has happened to both fighters in the intervening year.
Who'd ever thought that I would have the opportunity or the honor to meet the Pope? And so I guess I had to pinch myself a couple of times to see if it was actually real.
I fell about three or four times on the motorcycle, threw it off the horse, ran into the fence. I had a great time.
And new heavyweight champion of the world.
On November 13, 1992, Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe began contrasting year-long journeys. One turned inward. The other set his sights on the world.
Throughout my life, even as a kid, I always wanted to be the center of attention. But to be quite honest with you, I guess now I bit off more than I can chew.
Riddick Bowe, the 12th of 13 children, had escaped from the crime-ridden neighborhood of his youth to return triumphant.
Who would have thought me, I would have a Riddick Bowe day throughout New York City. That will always be a day that I'll never forget.
Feel better now, Daddy?
From the streets of Brooklyn to Madison Avenue, everybody loves a heavyweight champion.
Please welcome the newest undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Brooklyn's own Riddick Bowe.
Riddick, Big Daddy, Bowe.
Riddick Bowe. But fame and money brought unusual new problems.
You got cousins in Japan that all of a sudden want to be family. When you tell them in a nice way that, my money's tied up, which it is, and I just can't give you $500,000 right now.
Riddick's generosity did extend to the world at large, where as America's newest goodwill ambassador, he gave a robe to South African hero Nelson Mandela, donated a pair of boxing gloves to the Pope, and brought some love to Somalia, an experience that left the deepest impression of all.
That experience, it just moved me. But what I was holding in my arms was another human life. If somebody or someone didn't take care of that baby sometime soon, then eventually the little baby would perish.
Back at home, the champion accepted minimal time in the ring. Unchallenged in his 2 title defenses, Bowe's work for the year lasted less than 3 rounds. 5 minutes, 36 seconds. And that's it.
The most fun thing that happened to me this year, you might not consider it to be fun, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, my wife told me we was expecting our 4th child. Perhaps that's the best news I got all year. See, I thought I was just home, eating up everything, getting fat. I was on my job.
Come on, put your big head in here. Don't you bite me.
Evander Holyfield's year, since he relinquished his crown, has taken him away from the crowds and the spotlights.
So I got me some horses, start riding, got my motorcycle, start riding. I just had a ball, went bowling every day, just did everything that my heart desired.
That included firmly rooting himself in his 104-acre ranch. But mostly this has been a year devoted to refocusing himself by getting to know his children.
My oldest son's 9 years old, and I said this year I spent more time with him this year than probably his whole life. When I came home, he was still crying, and he said, "Daddy, you lost." Like he couldn't believe that I could lose. And I had to explain to him that, a lot of times it might not be good enough for somebody else, but you got to realize that the most important thing is to do your best.
Evander considered retirement, hired a rapper as a promoter, changed trainers, and came back with an unimpressive win over Alex Stewart. Despite his return to the ring, the year brought him a renewed appreciation of much that he had missed during his long climb to the top.
I guess being older and a little bit more mature, I can appreciate the land, appreciate the walking around, and I can appreciate being by myself. My daughter always tells me, "I love you, Daddy," for no reason. The championship is just another obstacle in my life, but the love that I get from my kids is the world. Without their love, I don't really have nothing, because the fact that they are what I work hard for.
The ball is hot. Move it, move it.
And now their year ends with their stories converging.
Check ball. Check ball. Check ball.
Both men training intensely.
Move it, move it. The ground is hot.
Both men headed for the same goal, the heavyweight championship of the world. On November 6th, their 2 stories again unite to become one. All right, we bring you back live to ringside at Tulsa, Oklahoma. HBO's World Championship Boxing continuing from here. Still live at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. The 2 combatants for next Saturday night, champion Riddick Bowe and challenger Evander Holyfield. Evander, I'll start first with you this time. There are reports that in an effort to get past the bigger man, bigger punch advantage that most people believe Riddick had against you last year, you'll be heavier this time around. Some say you're going to come in at an unprecedented 220 pounds plus against Riddick. Is there a need for you to be a bigger man this time?
Well, no, I think people got it all wrong. They looking at the point of weight. I don't think the weight would make a difference so much. I had more time to prepare and got a chance to use the weight this fight, and I'm a lot stronger and I'm a lot better. But I feel that it's not the weight, it's the ability that, you know, the ability I have and the things that I have to do to win.
So the great attributes you've always relied on in the past, no secret, your heart, your will, your stamina, your willingness to stay in there for 12 rounds, that's going to be what you rely on again.
Well, you know, that and, you know, my boxing skills. You know, I do move a little bit. I can box, and at times where that I felt that was important to go toe-to-toe and to let a guy know that, you know, I'm there.
All right, Riddick, let's talk about your weight. There were reports that you came to training camp at something like 290 pounds plus and have gotten down more than 50 pounds from that. What is the overall picture about your weight, and is it a concern?
Well, it's not really a concern, but let me just say this to you. For the last Holyfield fight, to make everybody happy, I came in at 235. This year, I'm going to please Riddick Bowe. I think the most important thing for myself is to be in great shape. I'm going to come in at whatever my weight is, 245, 250, and I think I'll be stronger for that.
All right, gentlemen, we thank you both very, very much for your time this evening. I know it's not terribly comfortable for the two of you to sit there for more than an hour together before you're getting ready to fight a little bit more than a week down the road. We're really appreciative that you're able to do it.
Thank you.
Okay, Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe, all of you who are boxing fans will be looking forward to seeing him again next Saturday night. George, conventional wisdom in the sport is bigger man, bigger punch. The same thing is going to happen again. Why should this be any different?
Not so. Boxing was invented for the smaller man to whip the big guy. A big guy does not need the art of self-defense. If Evander really practiced well, he can win this thing.
What would be the one thing that Evander would have to do better than he did a year ago?
He's going to have to go back to the basics. You move, you jump, you hit combinations, and get out of there. Do not mix it up with the bigger opponent. It's not necessary.
All right, let's turn to our own smaller man, Larry. Why would this be any different than what we saw last November 13th?
Well, I just can echo what George said. The conventional wisdom is that the man who wins the first time will win more convincingly the second time, particularly when there's a younger, bigger, stronger fighter. If Evander Holyfield fights this time the way he fought George, the way he fought Buster Douglas, staying outside, jumping in and out, rallying, then he has his best chance. I don't know how good a chance that is, but I do know this. Evander Holyfield has never been in a bad fight. Whatever happens, even if this fight doesn't get to another 10th round, it'll be a fight.
If it's only 1/3 as good as what we saw last year, I, for one, can't wait to see it. Bowe, Holyfield 2, next Saturday night, November 6th in Las Vegas, Nevada.